The law of objective advantage, why the highest bidder deserves the property. In evolutionary capitalism, property is not a sacred right but a strategic resource. Ownership is justified not by sentiment, tradition, or preference, but by productivity, specifically, by who can make the most efficient use of a resource in service of evolution's long-run goal. The construction of the perfect evolutionary being. The law of objective advantage formalizes this logic. It states that a transaction should occur, even if forced, whenever a higher value use exists, as proven by a bid reflecting greater productive potential. The ability and willingness to pay for enforcement, backed by real economic performance, is not just a reflection of desire. It is the system's way of discovering and enforcing objective advantage. This law replaces myths of consent and subjectivity with an empirical, transparent process that aligns ownership with output. The myth of subjective value. Traditional libertarian and Austrian frameworks treat value as inherently subjective. From this flows a moral framework in which consent is sacred. If someone doesn't feel that a transaction benefits them, it must not happen. But this view commits a critical error. It confuses ignorance or delusion with legitimacy. Subjective value theory ignores that real productivity is measurable, external, and evolutionary. A person may value owning land they do not use, or hoard capital they do not deploy, but if someone else can prove, through transparent bidding, that they can make better use of it, then evolutionary logic compels a reassignment. The refusal of the former holder is not evidence of rightful ownership, it is evidence of misallocation. 2. Comparative advantage exists independently of belief. Comparative advantage is not a matter of opinion. It is a structural fact about who can produce the most with the least sacrifice. Even if neither party sees it, it still exists, like gravity. Refusing a transaction despite a clear comparative advantage is analogous to refusing to sell a cow to a farmer who can produce 10 times the milk simply because one prefers owning it. This is not a preference to respect, it's a net loss to society. Evolution, which rewards systems that maximize total productivity, will eliminate structures that protect such errors. The law of objective advantage is simply the formal recognition of this fact. 3. Bidding as discovery of objective advantage. The open bid is evolutionary capitalism's answer to decentralized planning under uncertainty. It works as follows. Each party places a bid based on their expected return from the asset. Since capital in this system is a reputation-backed record of past productivity, the bid inherently reflects real-world output potential. The highest bidder, by putting the most at stake, signals they can use the resource best. This is not desire, it is an evolutionary bet backed by skin in the game. Thus, a bid is not an expression of preference, it is a revealed claim of superior utility under constraint. And because the resources used to bid must be drawn from other productive uses, the bid reflects a real comparative advantage. 4. Demand for enforcement as distributed optimization. Critics may ask, why should enforcement follow the highest bidder? That just legalizing coercion? To which we answer, yes, but only. And in evolutionary capitalism, profitability is not greed, it is a proxy for total system output. Let's examine why this works. 1. Willingness and ability to pay encodes productivity. Bidders must weigh their offer against every other possible investment they could make. The only rational reason to outbid others is because they believe this resource yields the highest marginal return. And since capital is scarce, that belief is constrained by proof of past productivity. 2. The high bidder is the evolutionary best user. Whoever places the highest bid is the one who can afford to take the most productive action with the asset. Enforcement agencies that follow the highest bidder are not enforcing arbitrary whims, they are enforcing natural selection under uncertainty. 3. Rejecting the bid means rejecting output. Any enforcement system that defends a lower productivity holder against a higher productivity claimant is choosing inefficiency over evolution. Over time, such systems will lose to systems that adopt the law of objective advantage. It is not a moral law, it is an evolutionary inevitability. Formal statement. The law of objective advantage. A forced transaction or reallocation of property is justified when a comparative advantage exists that increases total evolutionary productivity. And this advantage is demonstrable through an open bid, even if the current holder refuses consent. Corollary. When enforcement is allocated to the highest bidder, and the bid is reputation-backed, the result is an ownership structure that approximates the distribution of resources according to objective advantage, because the willingness and ability to pay reflect the bidder's marginal productivity, not mere desire. 6. Refuting libertarian resistance. Libertarians insist that ownership should be defended regardless of productivity. But this is not sustainable. Their model assumes subjective value is supreme. Consent is always required. Historical title trumps productive use. Evolution rejects all of these. Subjective value can be wrong. Consent is irrelevant if your refusal imposes external costs. And historical title is an inefficient sunk cost when someone else can generate more value now. Libertarians are not defending freedom, they are defending unproductive incumbency. Evolutionary capitalism unapologetically corrects that. 7. Toward a transparent, optimal civilization. A system based on the law of objective advantage eliminates sentimental inefficiencies, forces all parties to internalize opportunity costs, turns enforcement into a decentralized, reputation-weighted productivity engine. It creates a world where no asset is hoarded without reason, no holder sits idle while others could produce more, and no right is sacred unless it maximizes output in the face of uncertainty. This is not tyranny. It is not theft. It is the mathematical correction of economic error, backed by evolutionary proof. Conclusion. The law of objective advantage is the evolutionary replacement for rights-based morality. It states that when a better use exists, and someone is willing to pay for it, the system must enforce that advantage, not defend stagnation. Enforcement is not a defense of persons, but of productivity. In this system, capital is dynamic. Property is conditional. And justice is not what you feel, it is what you produce.